Well, hello there, Furkan Karayel.
That's
Almost.
correct. Thank you, Angie.
It's
It's
a
a pleasure to
pleasure.
be here.
Pleasure to have you. I am one of your fans. Have been secretly following you for, I think, at least 2 years on LinkedIn, and I dared to reach out to you. And now, we get to know each other, so I'm really glad we get a chance to talk.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here talking to you. And I didn't know that we have been following each other for more than 2 years. Wow.
Or maybe it's just, in my mind that I've been following you this long, but maybe, sometimes time is also a concept. Like,
Yeah.
age. It's a concept.
Yeah. Long overdue conversation.
We um we usually start the listeners off with a fun fact that people can't read on the internet. So what can you tell us about yourself?
Oh my, wow, guilty pleasure. I thought of what is not in the internet about myself. I'm so much into listening to music, and I specifically love 90s music. I love it, and I think each time YouTube is prom suggesting me other books that other songs that is related to the other song that I listen, I sometimes find myself in the loop of listening to 90s music, day for days and days, and I love it. I mean, I listen to it in English and in Turkish as well. Yeah,
That is
1990s is kind of like the best
That's sort of
time.
your time. Okay. Yeah. I
Yes.
have like two favorite music periods at the moment. It's the 70s. So,
Uh-huh.
I listen to a lot of like rock, soft rock as well. And then I have like some 80s music because this is sort of the music that reminds me of my youth. But, I could also just probably dance along to anything that was happening in the 90s. So, yeah, I can relate to that.
Very good. I have my
Nice.
playlists and everything. So each time when my friends are like asking, "Do you have any playlist?" I say, "Yes, I do."
The Siri always returns the same songs to me now, no matter what I ask for. If I ask for relaxing music, if I ask for fun music, it somehow always knows what I like.
Same here. Same here. Yeah, it's very innovative way to approach to it.
Interesting technology, right? So, Furkan, tell us a bit more about your why. How did you end up in inclusion? And I'm almost careful to say the word, but I think inclusion is
Hmm.
probably something we can still say on the
Yeah,
internet without
maybe
getting canceled.
maybe let's forget about the word inclusion. I want people to get and reach into their full potential.
Yeah.
So it's has been always my passion, and I'd like to get to see people get what they deserve. And having worked in tech industry in Ireland in different areas of software production, I've seen that so many leaders were actually missing this opportunity by neglecting people's personality, by neglecting, what kind of background culture that they are born to or they are being exposed to. And then people don't get to reach their potentials, unfortunately, and people leave their jobs, the retention rates drops in organizations, and all these circles of, starting over again with new people, with new manager, new organization. I feel like, organizations are losing money, people are losing money in one way, and, losing connections. So it's not reaching into the potentials of people. So
Hmm.
that was the passion for me.
Hmm.
And like I said,
Hmm.
worked in the sector for 10 years
Hmm.
in different multinational companies. Then I said, ah, I can't see those uh, the world is diverse, but why don't we see more women in the leadership? And again, women with different ethnic backgrounds in the leadership positions of big tech companies. By the time that I Googled it, can you guess what was the rate?
9%.
Less than 1%. So
Awesome.
I said, Houston, we got a problem here. And Furkan, you're not gonna sit there to make it wait for it to be changed. You have to do something about it. Otherwise, your complaint is not gonna make any difference. So then I said, why not? I started an organization that looks at diversity in a holistic way, but not only for, gender focus, as many organizations had been looking at it diversity in only one dimension
Mhm.
back in those days. So that's how it started, and it's been 7 years already.
And you authored several books, if I understand it correctly, that deal with
Just two.
inclusive leadership. Yeah, but I mean, that's already quite an achievement because to me, you look still very young. So, like you've already published and have two best-selling books and also a lot of interesting merchandise. So how did you get to, from that place of, I'm assuming you were a bit frustrated in the tech industry.
Mhm.
You saw all this, wasted potential that, you saw people leaving, you saw that teams did not achieve what they could have achieved, did not perform as they could have performed,
Yeah.
with maybe a bit better understanding of each other, with more inclusive behaviors, etc. So how
Mhm.
did you get to that place where from that point of frustration to the point of where you are right now?
Yeah. Well, you can't really turn from one, job to another job. So you have to, like, my master's is in software, so it got nothing to do with diversity and inclusion. And the first thing for me was finding and connecting with those key people who are already in the space and aligned with my view of inclusion and diversity. And they were already um, being very impactful, for example, in different areas. Let's call it, for example, yes, gender perspective, culture perspective, neurodiversity, disabilities, LGBTQ communities.
Mhm.
Um, and from all of these perspectives, I built up a team together, and we started producing projects, programs, and solutions to organizations. And I learned from their ways. And I learned from, for example, one of us was somebody who had over 20 years of experience in the head of HR. Another one was a community leader based in Dublin. So, learning from their views and perspective, we delivered inclusive leadership programs to some organizations. And the first question we asked was, okay, research shows that diverse inclusion initiatives can only be successful if the organization has inclusive leaders. The more inclusive leaders, the more inclusive organization. Then what makes leaders inclusive leaders? We question that. And we found a pattern that makes leaders inclusive leaders.
Oh.
And then we started measuring organizations for their inclusive leadership level. And we
Mhm.
call it Inclusive Intelligence 360. And if any of the listeners will be wondering, the 6 skills that inclusive leaders had in common are self awareness, no surprise, empathy, engagement, cultural wisdom, accountability, and commitment. And that's how it led me to write the book, listening to inclusive leaders' stories. And I also sprinkled a little bit of my own stories working in tech.
Mhm.
How the scenario could have been different with one question, with one behavioral change, and the impact, again, the result would have been much different, giving people the experience of how inclusion can be practiced on a day-to-day basis, in everyday life, like in meetings, meeting with another person, and moderating a conversation, promoting, and choosing the talents, shortlisting. So in all of these phases. So I think that is the book is not only mine, but it's the books of inclusive leaders, a little bit of my own personal stories as well.
Sounds amazing. I need to actually add it to my library as ASAP, as they say.
Thank you.
Furkan, I also was just thinking if I should connect you with Chaba Tot. I don't know if you know each other, but I
Yes,
have,
I know. I met
you
him
know
as
Chaba.
well. Yes,
Okay,
yes,
good. Because
yes.
I recently had a direct couch talk with him where we talked about his model. And
ICQ, right?
yeah, and I thought,
Yeah.
it could be some interesting connection here. So yeah, good stuff. And I was wondering about one thing is like, how do you include psychological safety in your model?
That's a good question. So, let's say that when we are measuring inclusive intelligence level at organizations, there is kind of like a fear by leaders. Oh my God, is this going to be an additional work for us? Is it going to be another burden workload for us? So we overcome this by let's say good communication on explaining to the leaders what is it for, how is it going to benefit the whole organization and to you personally as well, and what outcome that they should expect, so that it's not going to be a surprise. And we keep this between ourselves as well. When we do the interviews, the organization only gets the bigger pictures out of, for example, 60 leaders that we have interviewed. 20% of percentage of them are inclusive leaders, championing leaders. Maybe 10% are almost champions. So we give an overview of it rather than this leader is needs more improvement. So once people know this, they are more likely to uh, how to say, open up a little bit more, that
Yeah,
we are not that a person who is going to be finger pointing. It's
yeah,
not the aim.
yeah,
We
yeah.
all do mistakes, and I start opening up with my own um, terrible stories as well. But
I have a few of those too. Like when I
yeah.
met my programmer for the first time in person and I wanted to hug him, completely forgot he's a Muslim. Like sometimes we do these things like so automatically, and then later on, like for somebody who's been an intercultural trainer for like 20 years, I was like, oh my God, that's so embarrassing. It's so embarrassing.
Yeah,
But,
these
it's
stories
these,
makes you
that's,
human,
yeah,
right?
these little things, they happen and
Yeah.
they, yeah, I guess, they enrich us and show that, we're also, despite all the knowledge, like sometimes on a like heart level, behavior level, we can also make a lot of mistakes, obviously.
Absolutely. And as a person, when I open up about it, people are more likely to open up more. So,
Yeah, yeah,
and setting the tone as, this is not a place for judgment. This is a place for, what could we inject a little bit more so that
yeah,
our
yeah,
behaviors,
yeah.
our leadership is going to be more inclusive.
I love that, Furkan, because it's a lot more of a coaching approach than maybe, what a lot of
Mhm.
leaders I think are probably afraid of is, this sort of, and I honestly I also blame it on us HR professionals that sometimes, we come at some of these topics with a bit of a like finger point, like like
Mm.
this high school teacher approach. You should not
Yeah,
do this, you should not do that, and I think if we want people to open up to the topic, especially if they're afraid that they're making mistakes, then I think we do that. It's better to do that with this approach. It's like a fail fast approach.
Yeah.
Fail fast, learn from your mistake, next step, move on, rather than,
Yeah.
you have to be perfect from the beginning.
Absolutely. Then maybe if it is a bit later, the outcome is going to be harder, maybe.
Yeah.
I also, genuinely speaking, Angie, that later on I had a team of executive team that are helping me with running the business. And then I had the team of, experts and leaders. So with the executive team, I did this test for myself as well. As soon as the number increased to three, because I had only two, so I didn't
Yeah.
want to put them into the pressure of, rating about myself. But I am curious about, how can I improve too? Because, there are millions of ways to improve, and I'd like to discover a little bit of that area. I am not perfect, and as soon as the number reached to three, and I given them a little bit of like time to bond with the team, and then I said, now you do it for me.
Awesome. Very good. And now, are you self-employed? You're a
Yes.
self-employed consultant.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I have a lot of clients who are thinking about starting their own consulting company or coaching business,
Mhm.
usually my age, like sort of nearing early retirement, thinking about, okay, what can I now do after corporate career? What would you advise somebody who wants to start a business? Female
Hmm.
entrepreneurship. Any tips?
I would say discover opportunities by speaking to people that you haven't met within your close circle, because it always expands our horizons to get an understanding how people do business and how business can actually work for you. To be honest, when I started this, I had no idea how to, start a consulting business. I have no idea how to connect to a company, but they connected to me. So that's how it actually happened. I learned it on the
Okay.
way. And
Uh-huh.
I think my fear, my message was bigger than my fear. So I had to kind of like come out of it. The more I speak to people, the more I discover, oh, I could have actually execute this, task or purpose in a different way. I could have done this, in a completely different perspective. So I would say speak to consultants who are in the business as much as possible and find their um, business model, what works and what doesn't work for them. Because if I knew that I was going to be working maybe double or triple more than my corporate job, probably I wouldn't have given up, because I was thinking, starting your own business, you only work on the time that you would like to work, and you have your laptop in front of the sea, and happy days. I thought this was the case, but it is the completely opposite. I'm so happy that I didn't know about it.
Oh, you're funny. I love that. But I love that also that sentence that you just said. Uh, my message was bigger than my fear. Wow, that's so poetic.
Mm,
And I honestly think, um, just talked to a young person yesterday about this who's thinking about starting a business. At the end of the day, any kind of challenge that you experience in your own business is in your head.
yeah,
It has nothing to do with the external environment. So,
yeah.
I'm a big believer also in coaching. And I told her how many coaches I've worked with over the last 15 years of having my business. Because
Mhm.
whenever, there was a challenge, then I needed to overcome something. And whenever there was a crisis, it was also, some personal change I had to go through. So,
Mhm.
and amazing, at the end of the day, what motivates us is the purpose. Yeah, this very
Yeah.
strong message, this very strong frustration with something that isn't working in the world.
Yeah.
That can be a
Yeah.
strong motivator. Yeah.
Uh-huh. And I'll be honest with you, Angie, some people, when they see that you have a very stable job, salary, and, family, home, and all these things, sometimes your friends won't get you.
I know.
It's,
Been
they
there.
just, yeah, all my friends were almost engineers, software engineers. They just don't get it. So they
How can you?
Yes, they look at the other way and they say,
Yeah.
why do you do this? So to them, it doesn't make sense. But it doesn't have to make sense to them. It has to make sense to you. So you don't need to convince anybody. At first, I was in the mode of
Yeah.
convincing the people around me that
Yeah.
it's gonna be good. It's purpose driven and all this.
Yeah.
But after some age,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not into convincing anybody. I just do it. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, I find another way to make it work.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's been my
Exactly.
my way from the
Yeah.
beginning.
Exactly. I told the younger lady the same thing yesterday in different words. I told her, don't talk to anybody else about this. Just talk to me.
Good.
Because everybody else is going to convince you it's not a good idea.
Yes.
Yeah, that's yeah, good advice. Very good advice. Now, in terms of the learning, I'm not sure how far you know mobility as a like subject matter, but we come to global mobility from various angles. So diversity, inclusion has a lot of overlap with intercultural communication, intercultural intelligence. So, like sometimes it's almost looked at like one area. But I'm also more of an expert in the field of global mobility, which is corporate, the corporate aspects of the mobility, how to send people from one country to another, basically for companies.
Hmm.
So, and a part of our Red Couch Talks is always the question, how you would, like, what would you teach HR professionals, global mobility professionals, if you had a say in our curriculum? And I think it's really important and interesting to listen to your perspective, Furkan, because you've also worked in a tech world. Because in
Yeah.
my opinion, nowadays, in comparison to when I started my career, now I think tech determines everything. No matter, if you're in banking, if you're in whatever, food processing, or, in building materials. It doesn't really matter in which industry you work. Tech is almost so dominant now that I think it's a good example to set and to look into the tech industry. When you said earlier, software and diversity and inclusion, it's almost like different things. I was thinking maybe not, because there's also a lot of commonalities between those two areas.
Yeah.
So,
That's
what do you think we should teach the professionals?
I think, well, inclusive leadership has been my passion and driven for the purpose of how can we, expand the opportunities for people and reach out to their potential. Is inclusive leadership is a one way.
Mhm.
And another thing is overcoming biases, because
Yeah,
biases are everywhere, and as well as microaggressions. So
yeah,
many people don't know what microaggression is.
yeah,
And if a person who is going to be maybe responsible from a team who is relocating, within the mobility, moving across the globe, I think they have to have a basic understanding of biases, microaggressions, and then um, building up a system to basic, basically capturing it and preventing it,
hmm,
because like they happen every single day in every moment. But if we don't have this maybe anonymous systems that people can actually report by email, by phone call, by reaching out to somebody, people just leave it there. They don't know what to do. If these information and systems are not in place, we can't learn from our mistakes.
yeah,
Mistakes are gonna happen.
yeah,
Is we said that we do mistakes too, but capturing those things, without putting a name, but calling the behavior, and then how do we translate that behavior into an inclusive one? We need to get the data, we need to get anonymous. Why would I, for example, report something in the organization? Because I believe that they're going to take action. I believe in the organization's inclusion value. So I think reporting something is a good sign that you have a good trust between the employee and the system and the organization. So using this trust in a way that is going to work for people is, I think, is one of the most important thing. Doesn't have to, when I talk about inclusion, people think like, oh, we don't have the budget, our team is small. But do you have systems like this? It doesn't take a huge,
Mm.
a lot of, time to set it
You
up.
can use an Excel sheet.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think that's a really important point. So two things. I'm gonna send you another Red Couch talk with another person that I think, you two, you would connect well with each other. And
Wonderful.
I have another thought. I had another thought about, we something we addressed in the Global Rockstar as well, but I think we need to even talk about it more in 2025 than we did 2 years ago when the book came out, is the white supremacy. And, in the context of global mobility, we sometimes need to remember that most of the global mobility, it came from the military. Our language is still a bit militaristic. Like we talk a lot about things that, that were very common in the 50s, like R&R, repatriation. The whole terminology is still very much based on the military language. But what we sometimes tend to forget is that the original expatriation started actually with the colonization. So
Mhm.
there's still that whole, even the word expat is is a bit problematic.
It
You know,
is.
so for me, it's sometimes I'm like sitting like between two chairs. I'm like, okay, what am I gonna do? SEO says I need to use the word expat, but my intercultural conscience, feels like this is wrong. This is so wrong. I cannot use this word anymore. So like I'm trying to come up with solutions, but then they don't work because they don't make sense to anybody. But I think
Yeah.
we need to, that is really an important point, and it should hit home for I like that you're saying it. So we need to teach in the global mobility world. We need to teach about bias. We need to teach about microaggression, and we need to talk about white supremacy, especially in the context of expatriation
Yeah.
and also in the context of international hiring, which
Mm.
is becoming more and more relevant. So you just inspired me. I have two talks in November. I will remember you.
Thank you. I'm
To
here.
bring
I'm
in
here to
these
help.
three, these three at least at the end somewhere, to just make sure that the message hits home. Yeah.
Wonderful.
And last question. What is going on in your world? What have you got coming up? Is there any exciting new book in the pipeline or anything else we should know about?
Well, beside my camera, there is a pile of things that maybe three or four other books that I have started writing, but I mean, it's a long way. It's in a mess right now. So
Mhm.
maybe I tell you about one exciting project that I've started this year.
Uh-huh.
So we want to take inclusive leadership conversations to outside of offices and organizations. So we started these conversations in a dinner table.
Uh-huh.
So each time we are visiting a different cuisine and we have a storyteller telling about that cuisine and culture, the
Uh-huh.
meaning of leadership and inclusion in that dinner table. And while we are listening to all these authentic stories, we are having conversation, meeting with other leaders and people can either come with their teams. That's last time there were people coming with their teams and individually as well, while enjoying the lovely authentic foods in front of us, hearing its story, linking it to inclusive leadership. We wanted to explore this way of connecting the food, authentic food, culture, and leadership together. So, yeah, we are so excited of visiting other cuisines later on, and it's been so successful.
That is an excellent idea. I love that.
Mm-hmm. And I'm
I need to
someone who
steal it
does.
from you.
Yeah, I mean, do it. Invite me as well. So
Yeah,
I
I,
love it.
I think about it. I'm planning a cheese fondue thing in Switzerland in December. Think about.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
And
that's a
let
good
me know
idea.
how it goes. I think people kind of love a casual conversation about leadership. When you go to the offices, you kind of become a different person, like your office face comes in. But
Yeah.
if you're outside, it's kind of like more relaxed. You still learn a lot by, a meeting with another person. We were last time about 20 people in the whole table and from 9 different nationalities. And imagine the storyteller is telling about a story, another person says that, oh, we have very similar thing about this, or we have a very similar food that is being cooked on this special day. So the image, like the imagination, the variation of the conversation is just so beautiful and so lovely.
I can imagine. That's going to be wonderful.
Next time
So,
you're in Dublin, so please do let me know.
yeah,
And of
good.
course, I have my 2 books in online as well. If people Google me, they will be able to find my books, Inclusive Intelligence and Diversity and Inclusion Ambassadors Workbook.
And these books will also be linked in the show notes below the video.
Perfect.
Plus, people can connect with you on LinkedIn, right?
Yes, please do. And say hi that you're coming from Red Couch Talk. So that will be fantastic.
That's a secret keyword we're hoping everybody to use. So
Wonderful.
you're not getting, in like spammed by random strangers.
Yeah, yeah, it's important. I see you're in the red couch already, which I'm in the gray one.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks so much for the opportunity, Angie.
It's been a pleasure meeting you, Furkan, and I hope we're going to meet in person at some stage. Maybe at some
Hopefully.
conference. Yeah,
Hopefully.
fantastic. And I'll send you the other Red Couch talk I was alluding to.
Great.
Have a wonderful rest of the day. It was fantastic talking to you.
Likewise,
And all
Angie.
the best.
Take
Bye bye.
care. Bye bye.
Bye.